What do we have here? LED firelight. Welcome, friends, to the Hearth Tales, where we tell, or I tell tales or stories at the hearth, which is a LED-fueled hearth, very high budget, but you know, humble beginnings, humble origins, first steps, and so on and so forth. I will tell you guys some stories, some tales. I will be the storyteller. And you know what? I already flipped the script. 30 seconds in this program, I already flipped the script. I was keen to talk about characters and emotions and personas and how we are what we project in terms of what we create for characters, of course. But you know, I changed my mind. I was doing this setup, all this grainy imagery thing, putting my cam over there, my precious light over here, and then I decided, you know what, fuck it. Let's not talk about character creation, writing. Let's talk about haunts. Ghosts. Yeah, I know. Seems like a peculiar, on-the-nose, low-hanging fruit for a first episode, but screw it. We'll just wing it. There's no script. There's nothing. I have nothing except, you know, my mic, my light. But I want to tell you guys about my experiences. We're all familiar with the concept of hysteria, right? You call someone a hysteric whenever has this keenness, that incontrollable bursts of behavior that we cannot rightfully explain. And because we do not understand clearly what triggers these and all these elements and how they're put together, we call this person hysterical, like that's hysterical. This propagates, of course, to masses, like I was telling you guys earlier about the witches of Salem and how this whole community was gripped by this hysteria. Like the god Phobos, god of fear, often walks the battlefields and infects everybody with fear. And now masses of people rout, right? It's enough to see someone running away for their lives to, you know, to kind of feel like maybe I should do the same, or you don't think anything, you just follow it, and there's this domino effect and the whole flanks run off. So hysteria is also associated with the unnatural. You cannot explain someone's behavior. They see the devil dancing naked in the woods, and therefore they decided it's a good idea to boil chickens alive. So whenever you decide you cannot explain something, I call something hysterical. In the Victorian age, all the women that threw a little bit of tantrum were stamped with the hysterical. She has hysteria, and they were institutionalized. That was very fun. But I'm interested in this mass hallucination thing. And I remember this story that someone told me that changed their life completely. Was it hysteria? Was it the god Phobos playing a trick? I don't know. Let's find out together. And this will be a segue in my own story. So there was this couple that I know. They lived in Bucharest, in Romania, where I used to live. I met them at a party, and we started talking, exchanging experiences until they said, and I was talking with him, they were a couple, him and her, and she told me this, the reason they moved out of the house Now, this reason was the following. So they just bought this small apartment from these gypsies. Well, Romanians and gypsies. We have our gypsies. We have fair share of gypsies. The apartment was a disaster when they picked it up, and well, they renovated everything. They put new furniture in. They put everything in place, and they were having a nap together in the living room. They were watching TV. And they were both, spooning, cuddling, watching TV on the side. And they had a dog. They had a little dog who was sleeping next to the bed. And suddenly the dog grew a bit restless and starting yelping, making odd sounds. The sort of sounds that the dog makes when it wants to get out, or it's in need of something, you don't know. So him, I'll refer to them as him and her, I don't want to give any names. Him looks at the dog and is like, "What's wrong with you?" And the dog shares a bewildered look. The girl tells him maybe he wants to go out to drink some water, or I don't know. The guy takes another look at the dog. The dog is flapping its tail, being a dog, a good boy. Guy gets out of the bed, crosses the living room, opens the door, and lo and behold, in the other room, there was their dog. The dog was already outside and was sleeping next to the entrance and the apartment. Clearly, a weird and queer situation. The guy looked back into the living room, to make sure not to have a case of two dogs, and there was no dog in the living room. So he and the girlfriend shared a really disturbing look and exchange, and she started almost crying because she realized how weird was this situation. The dog outside of the room was sleeping still. So this put the fear of God in them in a way, They called the priest, because that's what we do in Romania. They sanctify the whole place, And when they later on, like 1 year later on, they still have these disturbances, but one late year down the line, they removed the tiling, and they discovered that on the ground, on each corner of the house, there were hairpins, each placed in such a way to make a small symbol, let's say. 4 symbols in every corner of the room. Gypsy sorcery, right? Gypsy magic. All right. And that convinced them to move shop, so to speak. They sold the apartment, they wouldn't have anything to do with it, and they moved on. When I heard this story, I had mixed feelings. Firstly, I thought, I was taking for a ride. You cannot possibly believe stuff like this, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Teleporting dogs, illusions, what's going on? My other half, my other side of the brain was like, I don't want this to happen to me. Like, I'm fine not believing in ghosts and haunts and magic and shit like this. Everything can be explained, right? Everything, if you see it, it's either a bewilderment of senses, or it's nothing, or it is, I don't know. But there should be an explanation, right? Not no magic, teleporting dogs, mass hallucination and hysteria. Until it happened to me. Now I have to say that I've traveled the country quite a bit, and I lived in many apartments in regions and places of all sorts of contexts, and some lavish apartments, some really poor apartments of downtrodden areas of the city. But this situation that I'm about to describe you happened in only one apartment, only one place. It was so intense that I want to talk about it. And you'd be the judge if it was intense or not. But it was so weird, so peculiar, that I don't think that my mind could have conjured it out of thin air. There was no reason to do so. But let's cut to the chase. When I first joined Ubisoft, one of the deals I made with them is for lodgings, right? And so they set me up in this big apartment that was in a central area, 4 rooms, something ridiculous. It took 10 minutes to walk from my room to the kitchen to get a snack. That's how I measure comfort personally. How long does it take from your bed to the kitchen? If it takes more than 2 minutes, boy, you're set. So I love the apartment. It was I was to share that apartment with other people who came, at Ubisoft, in transit. I was the only guy who was there for a long term, but we had people coming in, guests, and they were being lodged there. It was all fine. So I met a bunch of people. I was living there for like a while, like 4 months. A girl comes in as a roommate. We get a bit close, things. Now, after a while, certain things starting happening in the house. The big ass house. Firstly, the first thing that happened is that it was at the top floor. It's worth mentioning. It was like this big block. It was at the 10th floor. It was beautiful. I would hear noises from outside the house when I was alone. Noises. Not necessarily furniture moving, but weird noises, clops, the sounds of feet on the tiles. And it's weird when you're on the top floor to hear stuff like this, But I was too busy playing World of Warcraft. And one interesting episode was when we had to wash her bear. She had this teddy bear. It was a bit dirty, and we washed it, and I drenched it in water, and I left it in the bathroom, And I kept joking with her, hey, what about, the bear comes out, drenching with water, coming in the doorway, mister, I don't think I like your attitude. We were chilling in my bedroom, watching TV. And so we were sat on the bed, we were watching TV, and suddenly we hear the noises of feet soles. That lip, 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 lip noise that the naked feet do on tiles. And we heard it coming from the door to my room, which is way in the back. It was clear enough that we heard it over the TV. It was a very weird situation. The TV was not particularly loud because she was almost falling asleep and I didn't want to wake her. But I was listening to the sounds of those feet. And then I noticed that she was awake. And I made a gesture to climb out of the bed to take a look. And she was very distraught. She was very afraid. She reached out and she said, don't go. Don't go. I don't care. Don't go. Don't open the door. She had real fear. So I didn't open the door. I just went back to the bed, settled in, and kept, ears open. So that was this sort of things that we had going on in that house. Nothing major. Ubisoft moves the girl away after a while, And then I'm alone again in the house. And then the first really weird thing happened. Like the stuff that makes people pause. I bought Bolt. You guys know Bolt. It was that animation with the white dog. It was hilarious. You know, with the pigeons, with the redunculus, capisci redunculus, you know. I loved it. So I rented it. I bought it actually. And I was in my room, my big room with the big ass TV in front of me. I was looking at the movie alone in the dark, and I was having a blast. I mean, that movie is hilarious. So I was watching the movie, having fun. I was halfway through the movie when suddenly I felt this urge to look to my right. There was like this, not voice, this drive that told me, stop and look to your right. So I was laughing and turned my head laughing for no reason to look in the right. And my joy melted completely. It was such a fast swap of fear and joy. There's joy and then there's fear. It was so sudden that I felt my ears buzzing. What did I saw on my right? The left corner of my room, it was pitch black darkness. Now, it's worth saying that I'm usually watching TV with the lights off, but I always have this big IKEA lamp in the corner, right? And it was in the corner that I looked, but despite the lamp, the corner between the walls was extremely dark. Not like tar black, but darkness. So that was strange. But the strangest thing was how fear took me over. It gripped me. Terror. Why? I stumbled out of the chair. I had this armchair I was watching. I stumbled out of the armchair and ran off. If someone had a surveillance camera, they would be really puzzled about how I reacted. So fast, so sudden, scrambling to get out of the room, to go inside the to the right into the bathroom where there's all of super bright white tiles everywhere, and just close the door and pant. And then I realized how ridiculous the situation is. I stilled myself, went back, opened the lights. There was nothing. Thank God it was nothing. I looked left and right, stopped the freaking Bolt movie, and I'm starting laughing at how ridiculous that situation was. Strike one. Strike two came too fast. I was not, you gotta leave a guy sometimes to cool off, Fallout 3 came out, and I bought it on the 360. I couldn't wait for the weekend to come to play it, and that's what I did. But I moved, so now I slept in the smaller bedroom, because, big bed, small bedroom, really big bed, king size bed. The point to that my linens and bed covers could not fully cover the bed. I had to overlap them, one on a side, 3 or 5 pillows. So every time my bed was a mess, I never made the bed, I just screw it. It's too big, it's awesome. I was in the other room, I woke up, so on Friday evening, I got home from work, I popped in that Fallout 3 in the 360 and started playing. Was it on 360 or the PC? I think it was the 360. Yeah, it was the 360 because I was using the controller. I think it was on the 360. I'm not sure. Anyway, now it was on the 360. So I started playing the game. Loved it. My first Fallout game, I was into it. I was sucked in like in the vacuum of space. So I played it and I played it, and I stopped playing at somewhere around 4 in the morning when I was literally physically ill, so I had to stop. So I put the Fallout game to the side. I go into my small bedroom, I collapse on the bed and fell asleep. I woke up on Saturday at around 2 p.m. At noon. I drink something, I grab something to eat, in front of the TV, and kept playing Fallout. I was just having a blast. I was so engrossed. And I played until late in the evening again. It was a marathon, but I stopped somewhere around 9 in the evening. And then I decided, I had enough. At that point, I had enough. I said, all right, it's time to stop. I need to sleep and, have Sunday do something else. And then I went back to my bedroom to sleep. And lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, my bed was made. Right, I know what you're thinking. What do you mean your bed was made? My bed was made army style. Everything was smoothened out. The covers were straight as an arrow, left and then right. The actual bed cover was also really straight. The pillows were, when they're not squashed, you pat them together, you get them together, make it all black fluffy and everything. Though all the 4 small pillows that I had, they were all puffy, straightening out alongside the bed like on a line. It was extremely unsettling. When I came in and I saw the bed, I lost color in my face. Again, similar to the wall thing, it was highly unsettling. It was weird. It was a shift of emotions. The hysteria thing. I looked at it and I was horrified. Of course, because I knew I never do my bed. And the work and patience to do that just boggles the mind. Who did that? I didn't do it. I lived alone in the house. Something else happened there. Something that I cannot account. Was I brainwashed? Did I sleepwalk? I played all day. What happened? Clearly I had no answer for this. In these situations, you have no answers for these things. Your mind, kind of tries to find a solution, an explanation. I didn't find it funny. I didn't find I have a ghost maid that makes my bed. Amazing. Whoa, you're so lucky. No, what I did, I backed away from that shit. I put my clothes on, my shoes, and left the house. I left the house to walk. Called my friends. I never told anyone about this shit. And I wanted to go back to sleep, but I would not dare go in that. I would not dare to go back and see the bed made, because for a moment I was thinking, what if I go back and the bed is a mess up, and I just imagined all that. No. Much later on, I did go back, and the bed was made as I left it. So I slept in it. Right? What else I could do? Now, like I said, strike 2. The third strike came much later on. I was already, putting all these things behind. I was not thinking about them too much. I told my friends, they were laughing. And then until one night, of course, these things happen during night. Never during the day, always during the night. There is something in the darkness. There is something. When the sun is not visible, that weird shit happens. So during one night, I suddenly woke up. The reason was because someone was touching my foot. I was facing my pillows. My right foot, I think, was outside of the bed, hanging out, and I felt that someone was petting my foot. And it was this very keen sensation, very clear. I was screaming internally. I sat still, pretending to sleep, because I was too horrified and confused and afraid to lift my head and look. So I pretended to sleep. And I focused all my senses on my foot because I was pushing away at the idea that someone was in the room next to me and was petting my foot. So I focused on all the sensors on my foot, not to wiggle my toes to betray that I am aware, and just feel what was happening. And there was this gnarly hand that was not warm, and it was petting my foot. The upper side, not my sole, the upper side, like this. It was horrible. It was horrible. I realized that I have to do something. I have to confront this situation. So I rehearsed on how to jump at it, to seize it, to attack it. You want to send it away, you want to fight it off, to restore your confidence. So I started practicing as I was asleep. What muscles do I move? When? Where do I jump? How? It was like this drill in top, like this. I push against my hand and I elbow. Because it's in that area, and it's gonna 1, 2, 3, 4. Like now I was like Sherlock Holming the whole encounter, and then I realized no, I can't because I have the TV too close, and I'll just smash into the TV, and I have to go on the left side and maybe go close to the light switch. I'm going, all right, I'm gonna go on the opposite direction. I'm not gonna pounce on whatever is petting, and it kept petting my foot as I was doing my Sherlock Holmes preemptive attack planning. So I decided to jump toward the light switch and turn it on. I counted to 3 in my hand. 1, 2, 3, and then I leapt off the bed. In a whirlwind of bed covers, limbs, flailing like a maniac, hit the door, hit the wall, turn on the lights, boom! The light bulb pops. Blackness. Now the terror settles in. When the light bulb exploded, that flash of light and then sheer darkness, with the thing on the other side of the bed, me half covered in blankets next to the wall, hand on the light bulb, light switch. I don't remember feeling more afraid in my life. I was completely out of my mind. I got up and tried to open the door, but it was one of those doors that was built on the wrong end, and you have to pull the door to get out. You don't push it. So I banged against the door trying to get out because the senses left me. After bumping against the door, screaming, I managed to step back, pull the door, get into the long hallway, turn to my right and run to the front door screaming, turning all the lights as I passed through them, and even opening the fridge light that was in the hallway, and sat against the back end next to the entrance door, horrified, looking across the corridor from where I came in, where my room was way in the back and was still dark. And I was holding up on the refrigerator door, panting, looking in the corridor, horrified if something would come out from my room. I was defenseless. I would not consider reaching to get a knife, get some karate stance. I just looked and waited for the thing to come out. I don't know how much I waited, but then I went into the kitchen, opened a drawer, pick up the big old fuck all knife, and went back into my room. I was not a vision of a man trying to face off his fears. No, I was a scared person hoping not to find anything. So I went into my room. I moved the door to the side. Inside was pitch darkness. I could not see shit because of the light bulb. I went back into the other room and waited, not knowing what to do while I was in the light. I had no flashlight in the house. So I grabbed the clothes on the ground and left the house in the night. I left it. Came back. There was nothing. There was nobody. No one. No one knows. It was just how I left everything. Even the refrigerator door open. But that episode, you see how these things escalate? That episode really did a number on me. That in that same month, Ubisoft was told me that they're gonna give the apartment away and I'm gonna need to find my own lodging. I was already ready to leave. I could not spend time there. But I was curious. What happened in that house? What were these things that I experienced? Now, when I gave the key away to the landowner, I was set to ask her, what happened in the house? Did someone died in that bed? What happened there? Was this soul that was kind, making my bed, petting my foot? What happened there? But I didn't ask her. I didn't ask her despite my curiosity, because if you find out about the curse or someone, on the name of that person, what happened, it follows you. It goes with you wherever you go. And I was not ready for that kind of charge. I was not ready. I was not joking. I did not want to dare the fates. So when I left, I just left. I moved away in a very bad apartment because it was, I didn't have a lot of time to find a better place. It was in a bad neighborhood, the ground floor, I had cats jumping inside the house, but nothing like this happened. I changed 4 houses since then, including this one I'm here, and nothing like that happened. Ever. So the moral of the story is, now, I also have to say I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in these things. I think myself as a rational man. I don't look for ghosts. I'm not particular, spiritual. But that experience, I still think on that experience from time to time. What have I experienced there? What was that? Is there such a thing as spirits and souls? This form, this of existence that we keep talking about, that we harvest in Dark Souls, and we pray for it to ascend to God and all these things. Is there a projection that someone leaves after its passing, that continues to influence a place, a particular place? Based on my experience, I would say that's quite likely. And if someone tells you, let's do this fucked up thing and go to this haunted place to try our luck, it's probably a very good idea to not go. Unless you want to be the protagonist of some found footage short horror film on the internet. Right, with this I conclude my first Hearth tale. I will see you guys next time with better stories. Maybe next time I will end up talking about the characters, dialogues and personas like I wanted. If you guys have any suggestion of topics or stories or tales, do you want me to talk about Romanian folklore, about the Moroi, about the boneless people and all that madness, I will gladly talk about. Just write in the comments and tell me. So keep your mind open, learn, grow, and pass on the stories.